Hey folks, walk with me. A story came in and then ultimately a question. And the basic gist was this person had struggled through a large portion of their college career and life. And then after the fact, they were diagnosed with some things that made a lot of sense to them. They're like, oh, okay, I'm not just lazy and distracted or whatever. I have this thing, and I can now sort of understand that. It makes more sense, and I can work with it. I think in a way that they did not expect, what's actually started to happen is that diagnosis, although they want to celebrate it, they want to say, yay, I have answers. This makes total sense to me. I have this. They're actually mourning their old self where they didn't know that they had this thing. And they felt at that time that they were more confident, more self-assured, even though they knew of their shortcomings, right? That concept of being like lazy or easily distracted or whatever. But they were more confident and self-assured. And now that they have this diagnosis, they feel like they have somehow been sort of like misprogrammed, right? That the wiring in their brain is wrong. And that they sort of like have this label now, at least to themselves, of these kind of like damaged goods, right? They're a lemon of some sort. And so the question here was, I want to be able to celebrate the fact that I have this insight now, and it does make a lot of sense to me. But I feel now like I'm just this thing. I'm just these damaged goods. I'm just miswired. And that makes me really miss the old me that sort of like was blissfully ignorant of what was actually happening. I think that I've actually experienced this a couple of different ways in my life. And it can be very hard because it can be very overwhelming very quickly for you to all of a sudden think everything that I have thought that I've understood has been wrong. It's all been misfiltered, misunderstood by me. To some degree, the whole thing has been a lie. And I wish that I didn't know that, because now it all just feels wrong. This is going to sound a way that I probably don't want it to, but there's a path that you're on, that you're walking down. And I don't mean this in the way of like, you're a soul with a skin suit and you're on a path to enlightenment. That's not the way that I mean it. What I mean is you're passing through an ever-changing landscape. And one of those landscapes that you're currently just in the thick of, right? You're caught in the briars and the thorns and the thicket of this diagnosis. And even though it makes sense, and even though you want to celebrate it, you're caught so heavily in it that it's actually having the opposite effect. But it too is just a landscape. And it too is changing. And you will pass through things, you will come to things, and you will come upon things that will create such significant change and redirect your life and your view so profoundly that it'll be so in the rearview mirror, as will the period of time when you were sort of like self-assured and ignorance was bliss, right? So I think that's one thing. Another thing is maybe you don't need to want to celebrate it, right? Maybe you are actually sort of making it worse, if you will. I don't want to use this like better or worse language, but maybe you are sort of making it harder on yourself or hard on yourself at all, because you have developed this concept of I should celebrate this because it makes sense and da 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 da. Maybe you should just accept it as a thing that is, an experience that you're having, a reality that you're in the midst of, and so was the previous period in time as well. And that's now feels different and changed, and that's exactly what all of life is, right? A changing and evolving experience. And so this will also become one of those things eventually, but I don't know that you need to want to celebrate it. You might want to examine if you can kind of let go of that idea of, I feel like I should celebrate this. Because that, I think, is probably centering you around this idea of, if I'm celebrating something, it also gives me something I could mourn. And so how do I do, like, both of them feel kind of true? But I think probably neither of them need to be true if you don't sort of enforce it. And I had one other thought, but it's sort of escaping me at the moment. But maybe those two are sort of a place to start and to play with. If I think of the other thing, I'll pop it in the comments, or if it's a big enough thing, maybe I'll make another video just about that. But those would be my initial thoughts on what to do with this sort of thing. All right, folks. Well, I hope that you are having a good start to the new year. I know this is going to come out a bit after the actual new year, but you're probably getting into the grind now and sort of feeling a bit of what 2025 may or may not be like. So I hope that that's sorting out in some way for you. And if you walked with me or watched this far, I certainly appreciate it. And as always, I will see you in the next video.